Whether you're new to the Commander format or just haven't built up your Commander arsenal quite yet, here are our top 10 cards in no particular order from Commander Masters that we feel you might want to pick up. Thank you Wizards for sponsoring this video. Divergent Transformations for 6 generic and a red, instant speed. Undaunted. Exile 2 target creatures. For each of those creatures, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card, puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles the rest into their library. Polymorph has been fantastic for one-card win cons like Tightspout Tyrant and Hullbreaker Horror, but they all require some setup to win. Divergent Transformations lets you get 2 creatures for 4 mana instead of 1. That means you can set up a win with Kiki Jiki, Dockside, or any other 2-card combo to get infinite damage or infinite mana. The classic Polymorph is still a house, don't get me wrong, but that spell is sorcery speed. You can set up a 2-card combo at instant speed with Divergent Transformations. I cannot recommend this card enough. You definitely want at least 1 copy in your collection. Heliod Suncrown. For 2 generic and a white, 5/5 legendary enchantment, creature god. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. For generic and a white, another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. There have been several color combinations that haven't had clean combos or playlines for a while. Most of them involved white. However, when Heliod was printed, for an easy 2-card combo you could toss him and Walking Ballista into a bunch of decks to add a clean win con. That or even Triskelion would do the trick. Now the Heliod Ballista line is something that you've all likely heard of, and for good reason. It closes out games. Anytime a combo card is reprinted, it's great news for us players. Machias the Unhallowed. For 3 generic and triple black, 5/5 legendary creature, zombie cleric. Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. Although Mono Black has gotten some good combos with the Asmo Ooze line and more recently Orcish Bowmaster, nothing beats the classics. Machias and Triskelion are like peanut butter and jelly, letting you ping Triskelion twice and send the rest at your opponent's faces for infinite damage. Maybe this is what you Divergent out. Another classic 2-card combo, certainly more mana intensive than Heliod Ballista, but there are other playlines with Undying. Let me know your favorite combos with Machias in the comment section below. I'd love to hear how you pilot this legendary. Sevinne's Reclamation. For 2 generic and a white, sorcery speed. Return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may copy this spell and may choose a new target for the copy. Flashback. 4 generic and a white. Filling your grave has never been a win con. Oh, wait. Sevinne's Reclamation makes Intuition a non-choice. Hermit Druid a 1-card win con with enough mana, and allows you to get anything you want from the Mesmeric Orb and Basalt Monolith line. Sevinne's has smoothed out so many playlines in MTG, but moreover is just a good card. 3 mana recover any 3 or less cost permanent from your graveyard is already good, but the flashback makes it superb. Razaketh the Foul-Blooded. For 5 generic triple black, 8/8 legendary creature, demon. Flying, trample. Pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. It turns out that tutoring multiple times can win you an MTG game. Reanimate Razaketh and sacrifice your creatures to get whatever you need to win. If you need more tutors, you can use Orcish Bowmaster or Leonin Relic Warder lines to generate a ton of sacrifice fodder. Razaketh is what Razaketh tutors. There's no way you haven't heard of this powerhouse card, the Reanimate Darling, the bane of many a kitchen table. Nothing has dethroned this creature on pure tutorage. Loyal Retainers. For 2 generic and a white, 1/1 creature, human advisor. Sacrifice Loyal Retainers. Return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only during your turn, before attackers are declared. Survival of the Fittest is great at tutoring and entombing creatures. You can search up and discard a Razaketh, let's say, or Villas. Then search for Loyal Retainers to reanimate it. If for some reason you can't set up this combo, you can always use it to reanimate a value legendary instead, like Elish Norn. We didn't even mention the Selesnya Sappy combo, which will require an outlet, but watching the Retainers chase Sappy to and fro from graveyard to battlefield is entertainment enough. Spellseeker. For 2 generic and a blue, 1/1 creature, human wizard. When Spellseeker enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 2 or less. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Spellseeker is an outstanding tutor, but if you search up Ephemerate, you get a combo setup. With the 2 flickers, you can get Enlightened Tutor and gamble off Spellseeker. Then you can search for Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond to win with Breach if you have enough cards in your graveyard. Depending on what part of the color pie you're in, the tutors you tutor for will vary, but if you happen to be holding any of the combo cards in your hand, well, just tutor up Interaction instead. Spellseeker is one of the best creature tutors in the game of Magic right now. Chainer, Dementia Master. For 3 generic, double black, 3/3 legendary creature, human minion. All nightmares get +1/+1. For triple black, pay 3 life, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That creature is black and is a nightmare in addition to its other creature types. When Chainer Dementia Master leaves the battlefield, exile all nightmares. Crick is one of the fastest commanders in cEDH, and one of his best tools has been Chainer. You can pay 9 life to reanimate anything. This, plus any sack outlet and Grey Merchant of Asphodel, lets you drain the board infinitely. Chainer was really popular when I first started getting into Commander. I'm curious to hear from any Chainer players in the audience, whether you're playing the mono black one or the more recent Rakdos one. I'd love to hear how your deck list has evolved since you started playing the game. Stormkiln Artist. For 3 generic and a red, 2/2 creature dwarf shaman. Stormkiln Artist gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. So it turns out that making mana for casting spells is really good in Storm decks. Birgi and Steamkin can do great things for several decks, but only making red is a definite bottleneck. Thankfully, Stormkiln makes an artifact that produces any color you need. If you want to play cards for free in Vadrik, Stormkiln will cover the pips. This isn't even mentioning the fact that Magecraft triggers off copying spells as well. Using a Flusterstorm on your own op to make a gross amount of treasures seems like a pretty decent play when you need more mana. Magecraft is a fantastic mechanic if you're like me and enjoy breaking game mechanics. Most of the Magecraft cards have 2-card combos that in effect win the game, but this by itself, off the cast, off the copy, making mana, is fantastic. Tooth and Nail. For 5 generic, double green, sorcery. Choose 1. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Or put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Entwine 2. The hardest part about 2-card combos is finding those 2 cards, so how about just paying mana to win? Get to 9 mana and assemble any 2-card creature combo you want. Kiki-Jiki plus Zealous Conscripts, Dockside plus Emiel, Machias and Triskelion, maybe? Tooth and Nail has been a staple in Selvala Heart of the Wild since forever. I think that's safe to say. It's an excellent card, and just for you all, we have 5 more excellent cards from Commander Masters in our honorable mentions section. Ynet, Cryptic Sovereign. For 2 generic and Esper, 3/5 legendary creature Sphinx. Flying, Vigilance, Menace. Whenever Ynet, Cryptic Sovereign attacks, reveal the top card of your library. You may cast it without paying its mana cost if its mana value is odd. If you don't cast it, draw a card. I think it's safe to say that Peer into the Abyss is a decent card. What if I told you you could cast it for free? Get Ynet out and pass. Cast any of the 4 top deck tutors for Peer into the Abyss, and swing with Ynet for a free 40 cards. Godo, Bandit Warlord. For 5 generic and a red, 3/3 legendary creature, human barbarian. When Godo Bandit Warlord enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. If you can count to 11, you can play Godo. Get Helm of the Host, equip it to Godo, and then take infinite combats for the win. Demon Lord Belzenlock. For 4 generic, double black, 6/6 legendary creature, Elder Demon. Flying, Trample. When Demon Lord Belzenlock enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Then put that card into your hand. If the card's mana value is 4 or greater, repeat this process. Demon Lord Belzenlock deals 1 damage to you for each card put into your hand this way. If you don't want to spend money on fast mana, but still want to play a cEDH combo deck, then Belzenlock is for you. Play Belzenlock, draw your deck, and win with a ridiculous setup. Use Unmask to discard Phantasmagorian. Then you can discard Dread Return, Scourge Familiar, and something random. With a free Deepwood Legate and Hollow one, you can reanimate Scourge Familiar. Now, win with whatever strikes your fancy. Teferi, Temporal Archmage. For 4 generic, double blue, 5 loyalty counters, Planeswalker Teferi. For a +1, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. For -1, untap up to 4 target permanents. For -10, you get an emblem with you may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you could cast an instant. Teferi Temporal Archmage can be your commander. This set was a return of the classics, and here we have the OG cEDH Planeswalker commander. Get some mana rocks into play, get the Chain Veil, and use Teferi to untap them. Once Teferi gets to 0, recast him from the command zone. This new Teferi will have a fresh set of activations from the Chain Veil, letting you weave in some +1s as well until you have infinite mana, and draw your deck. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. For 1 generic and double green, 2/3 legendary creature Elf Scout. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. For green, tap, add X mana in any combination of colors, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Selvala is one of the most iconic cEDH commanders. Play some big creatures. Buff them even bigger. Make a ton of mana. Use untaps to make even more mana. And win through thousands of play lines that sound like they shouldn't work. And you thought you were going to get me to talk about this set without mentioning Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. What a trip down memory lane. If I'm not mistaken, she is the first video on this channel. Still one of the most interesting creature storm decks that exist, and still one of my favorite decks in mono green. Again, thank you Wizards for sponsoring this video. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, and for more news and updates on your favorite TCGs, subscribe to LGG. And if you don't mind, send this video along to the next gamer with a like. Thank you.